I believe that the Christian Campus House began as God's will. The students at the institutions of higher learning in Columbia would be offered an opportunity for a biblical education as well as a secular.
I just love all the ministers and how they pour in and they really care and want to invest in students' lives. You just have to be able to be willing to open up and reach out to them.
Whenever we're really diving into the Word and studying Jesus, you kind of get to see who people really are and their values, and that really helps us make a lot stronger bond.
It is a fruitful ministry. I don't know of any other ministry that has had such an impact on the kingdom.
All right.
God chose a small church on the west side of Columbia as a tool through which to implement His will to start the campus ministry. Westside Christian Church, now known as Forum Christian Church, it was decided years ago that the elders would also serve as a board of directors and continue to do so to this day. Christian Campus House actually began as a college class back in 1961 at the Westside Christian Church. It would have as many as 35 to 50 students in the college class on a Sunday morning, but it was difficult to sustain that type of ministry so far away from the campus. In 1965, we had two outstanding students come to the university, Jim Bilbrough and Ross Duff, and they both proved to be extremely helpful in the establishment of the college class and later the Christian Campus House. They both later served on the staff at the Christian Campus House. After a while, we realized it would be unlikely that we could maintain an active ministry with the college segment without someone full-time on the field. There was a young man from Eldon, Missouri that held several revivals for us at Westside. He was very impressive, articulate, knowledgeable, tall, and a very deep voice. He was a very good preacher and related very well to students. His name was Roy Weiss. We felt that God had answered our prayer, that Roy was our man. The only problem was, how are we going to get him here? Orville Brill, who was a PhD candidate in physics at that time, and myself, made several trips to Eldon to try to persuade Roy. We knew that it would not be easy. We presented our needs to the elders of the church at Eldon, and they agreed to let Roy come part-time. I could sense they knew they were losing their preacher, and I felt a little guilty about this, although not enough to stop pursuing Roy. The first semester in the fall of 1968, Roy came part-time on salary. He came full-time April the 1st, 1969, and his ministry here lasted 38 years. Roy stayed initially in the back room at the campus house. He drove back and forth to Eldon, where Carol and the children were at that time. The students moved in September of 1969. The Fijis used the upstairs as an annex the first year, and that was interesting. There was a corporation of 3 MDs and a dentist called the 4D Corporation. Through a discussion in the surgical lounge at Boone Hospital Center, we became aware of the fact that they owned 2 pieces of property on College Avenue. One, a former sorority house at 700 College Avenue, the other, a smaller house at 608 College Avenue. Both of these were for lease or sale. I'll never forget the first time I walked up on the porch at 700 College Avenue. I almost fell through a large hole in the front porch. The wood was rotted, the screen door was falling off the hinges, and there was rotting around the eaves. But it had one main asset, location. There couldn't be a better location than where it was. We hauled off after we purchased it, 7 truckloads of trash, broken furniture, etc., out of the house. There was a raccoon that used to come under the rotted eaves of the house at night into the attic upstairs, then down into the kitchen, would get into the food down in the kitchen, make a lot of noise, and it took a while to find out what was causing all the mess and the noise. before we were able to trap the raccoon and get him out of there. Unbeknownst to us, the realtor had continued to pursue someone to buy the house. A realtor came by one day with a group of Mormons to look at the property. Ross Duff happened to be there, and they were ready to pay cash. 4D granted us an option. They gave us 90 days to accumulate a $35,000 down payment. We prayed again and again, and in that 90-day period, we raised $48,000. At first, we were surprised by the amount God had supplied until we realized that 4D had a second mortgage on the property that totaled $13,000, preventing the sale unless it was paid in full. God knew what we needed and supplied it down to the dollar. Our purchase price was $95,000. We raised the $48,000 within the 90-day period from churches and individuals. Student teams went out every weekend. They were very active. Sometimes there would be 2 or 3 teams going out to different churches on weekends. Students wrote letters to churches, and we finalized the purchase of the property on April the 30th, 1971. After a period of time, the house at 608 College Avenue was torn down and the present house constructed under the direction of Don Schofield. Many times through the 60s and 70s, we'd grow impatient and wonder how God was going to lead us, but He always has shown us the way. God conceived and built the Christian Campus House and deserves all the glory and honor and praise for doing so. In closing, I recall that Roy and I were talking as he was about to start on campus. How should he handle it? He said, I've never done this type of ministry before. What format should I use? Campus ministry was fairly new in our brotherhood at that time. We all agreed that we would just do what God wants us to do, and that's teach the Bible. I believe that that was the thrust of the Campus House many years ago, and still is today. Thank you.
The place for the kids.
Oh yeah?
At Westside, they used to put, I had cue cards.
You did plays for kids?
Yeah.
Would you, like you were an actor on the stage?
Yeah.
Well, that's a whole other side.
I did Aunt Sylvania. I dressed up as a big ant.